Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking something that honestly sounds like an impossible magic trick, but it's literally the engine of our entire modern economy. We are talking about how commercial banks create money. Yeah, you heard that right. If you've ever wondered how wealth just seems to expand and grow, you're in exactly the right place. Get ready because we are pulling back the curtain on the whole banking system.
Seriously though, did you know commercial banks actually create money out of thin air? I know, it sounds a bit sketchy, right? But think about it. When you walk into your local bank on payday and hand over your hard-earned cash, what actually happens to it? A lot of us picture this giant Scrooge McDuck-style vault where our specific paper bills just sit there waiting for us to come back. But that's not reality. The truth is way more fascinating, and it's the absolute key to understanding macroeconomic growth.
Okay, let's dive into this. We got to start with the raw ingredient of our magic trick, the primary deposit. So a primary deposit is simply the cash the bank accepts from you when you open an account or make a physical deposit. Let's say you deposit 1,000 rupees in cash. The bank opens an account in your name and credits it. Simple enough, right? But this primary deposit is incredibly important. It's the seed money. Without this initial cash, the bank literally can't perform its magic.
Now here is where it gets interesting. Banks absolutely do not let your cash just sit idle in that vault. Instead, they operate on this rule called a reserve requirement. Basically, the government and central bank mandate that commercial banks only have to keep a small, specific percentage of those deposits safe in the vault, just enough to cover everyday withdrawals from customers. The rest of it, they are totally free to lend it out to borrowers so they can earn some interest.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that initial split works. Imagine you bring in that primary deposit of 1,000 rupees. Let's assume the mandated reserve requirement is 20%. The bank takes your 1,000 rupees, takes 20%, which is 200, and locks it securely in the vault reserve. That leaves a massive 800 rupees left over. The bank then takes that 800 and loans it out to a borrower, but pay super close attention to how they actually give that borrower the money.
Because this is the crucial pivot. This is where the money creation actually happens. When the bank grants that 800 rupee loan, they aren't handing over a stack of physical paper bills. Instead, the bank just opens a brand new account for the borrower, or uses their existing one, and digitally types in a credit of 800. Boom! They just created what we call a secondary or derivative deposit. The bank literally just created brand new digital money that did not exist a minute ago, all derived from your initial physical cash.
Which brings us to a famous fundamental rule in economics. Every loan creates a deposit, and the creation of a derivative deposit means creation of credit. The lending activity itself is the actual engine here. It generates the money supply. As long as banks are giving out loans, they're continuously generating new derivative deposits, which effectively expands the total amount of money circulating out there in the real world.
But wait, how far can this go? Does it just loop into infinity? To figure that out, we need to look at the secret code behind the bank's magic trick, which is called the money multiplier. The formula for this multiplier is incredibly simple. It's just the number 1 divided by the reserve requirement. This neat little mathematical equation tells us exactly how much total money can ultimately be created from our initial primary deposit.
So, the crucial point is how this basic, grade 10 math applies to our example. Step 1. We identify our reserve requirement, which we established is 20%, or 0.2 as a decimal. Step 2. We apply the formula, dividing 1 by 0.2. Step 3. We get our answer. The multiplier is exactly 5.
Just think about how staggering that is for a second. A multiplier of 5 means that for every single rupee of physical cash deposited into the banking system, a total of 5 rupees of money is created and injected into the overall economy. This multiplier effect is the exact thing that fuels business investments, mortgages, and huge economic growth.
Let's move on and see how this builds in the real world, because it's a continuous chain reaction. We know the bank loaned out 800 rupees. Well, that borrower isn't just going to stare at their banking app, right? They're going to spend that 800, maybe buying equipment from a supplier. That supplier then takes the 800 they just earned and deposits it into their own bank, and the whole loop starts all over again.
We can actually track this loop really clearly, round by round. Let's ground ourselves in round 1, the initial transaction we just talked about. A primary deposit of 1,000 rupees comes in. The bank holds its 20% cash reserve, which is 200, and creates a derivative deposit by loaning out the remaining 800.
Now moving into round 2, that 800 rupee loan gets spent and then deposited by someone else, making it a brand new primary deposit of 800. The second bank has to follow the exact same rules. They keep a 20% reserve of that 800, which is 160 rupees. Then, they are totally free to lend out the remaining 640. The cycle of credit creation just keeps going.
And here we are in round 3. That 640 is deposited, a reserve of 128 is securely held, and 512 is loaned out. As this cycle progresses, you're probably noticing the amounts are getting smaller and smaller with every single round. But simultaneously, if you add them all up, the total amount of money circulating out there is rapidly expanding. This process just repeats and repeats until there is literally no money left to be deposited and loaned out.
And when the dust finally settles and the chain reaction naturally comes to an end, we hit our magic number, 5,000 rupees. Because of that money multiplier 5 we calculated earlier, that initial single 1,000 rupee primary deposit has magically transformed through derivative deposits into a massive 5,000 in total money supply. Mind-blowing, right? Which leaves us with this final, honestly profound question. If everyday ordinary deposits create this incredible chain reaction that literally multiplies our money supply, just how much of the global economy is built on this invisible banking magic? Commercial banks aren't just storage lockers for your cash. They are the active creators of the money that drives our entire world. I really hope this explainer has completely changed how you look at the banking system and leaves you eager to uncover even more secrets of macroeconomics. Thanks so much for joining me today.